Hello people, welcome to Viewers, Comments and Questions with me. Dan is in the USA doing important things, so it's just me this week. And who could resist a 1-4 in a kind of Brothers Landreth style? That'll work, won't it? Oh, I am no devil, no, I am not saint. I can't be somebody that we both know I ain't, but I tried so hard. I knew I wouldn't catch on. Yeah. Awesome. Let's see if we get a copyright strike for that then. Welcome everyone. Happy Monday. Hope your world is good. I think we're live. I really hope we're live. We're live. We're live. Here's Rosie. Oh no, here's Catherine.
Hello.
And Rosie. Hello Rose. You going to come and say hello to the nice people? You going to come and say hello to the night? You coming up here, or are you not going to risk the legs? You going to come and say hello? No? Oh, yeah. Come and say hello to the nice people watching the VCQ. See you then. Yeah, welcome everyone. Dan's in the USA this week. Doing important things. Which we may reflect on in a moment. I want to say hello to David Mead, to Todd Roy, Adam D from Albuquerque. Jack Greenwood is on. BV, thank you so much for moderating as always. I'm just going to zip down to the bottom of the list to make sure that we are on. Ian Bogle says, don't forget to hit record. Ian, thank you kindly, buddy. Thank you kindly. We're live, pal. Pal is a wrestling reference, apparently, from Sheridan's TV. John Channing says, hope you're not feeling lonely without Dan. Well, it would be hard not to, wouldn't it? It would be hard to not feel lonely without Dan and the warmth of his general being. Tim Parker from Canada. David Tompkins. Good evening, says Square Wave Symphonies. Hi, Alex. Nice to hear from you, buddy. G-Barge, Greg. Hey, buddy. Good to hear from you. JD Severino is on. Lee Michael Geller is on. Albus Band. Aaron, great to hear from you, mate. Jack Duxbury. Hey, buddy. Well, I saw Jack this week. Good to hear from you, mate. Hope the wedding went well. Magic Man says, why does Daniel hate us? He doesn't hate you. He's just not here. Poor Dan, says Moon. Not poor Dan. He's having a lovely time. Scott from Baltimore. Todd Roy. DWC. Lost Planet. Michael Thompson is on. Robert Lewis. Zootalur. Ian Bogle. John 777, loads and loads of lovely friends. Thanks so much for joining. I want to say us, but me. Even Byron Krause's big dog is on. So good. Okay, before we get into the super chai then, I'll just see how many we've got. BV keeps me lovely and updated. We'll just do a quick bit of housekeeping. What's going on? Thank you, BV. What I might do is turn them off in a little bit. Because I appreciate 2 hours of me might be a bit hard to take. Patrons. Congratulations to Matt G from Devon. We were there yesterday. Matt G, who lives in Devon, who won the Kernham Ridge. Massive thanks to David and the team at Kernham for letting us give that away. So nice one, Matt G. We hope you enjoy your Kernham Ridge. The April giveaway, this month's giveaway, will be the Digitech Mosaic that we featured on the 12-string show recently. We actually bought this with our own money. So it is a genuine gift from us. The Digitech Mosaic 12-string simulator. There you are. So if you're a patron, you'll get an email. Do what it says. And let's start with the big one this week. News. Tariffs. American tariffs, what are they going to do? So what they've done immediately is made our sales really slow over the weekend. So let's just explain something that you may not know. Currently in place, and I'm sorry for being so boring about it, it's very hard to talk about this stuff without it becoming politics. So we will avoid the politics and just deal with the actual facts, which are, if you are in the USA and you buy something from that pedal show store, and it's really important that you do keep buying stuff from that pedal show store because you are our biggest customers and we wouldn't be here without you. So please, please, please don't be put off by the tariffs just yet, because there is something in place which you may or may not know of called de minimis. It means that USA people, and I think this is regardless of state, can buy up to $800 worth of stuff as an individual, not as a business, as an individual per person per day. $800, right? Which means that when you buy a t-shirt from that pedal show store and we ship it to you, you don't have to pay any import charges. You might have to pay some shipping. If your courier is in a particularly bad mood, they might try and charge you some other stuff, but as it stands, you shouldn't pay any additional stuff. Now, at the moment, de minimis is still in place, so it should have no effect on the vast majority of purchases from that pedal show store. You can continue to buy pedals from us, you can continue to buy t-shirts, you can continue to buy everything from that pedal show store, pretty much, and not incur any additional import charges. Now, as far as we can tell, that's going to be in place for the foreseeable. How long is the foreseeable? Nobody knows. So we just wanted to let you know that, everyone in the US, because it is important to us that people in the US can buy our stuff, and we don't want you to be put off by higher prices. Thank you. Sorry for the public service message. It's so boring. It's so boring.
Can I just chip in?
Yeah.
Somebody, Little Big Cat, has asked the question, aren't they ending de minimis at the end of the month? The answer to that question is nobody knows, because they need to sort out the systems and process for dealing with the actual tariffs.
So the question is, isn't de minimis ending at the end of the month? Nobody knows. They need to, you probably just heard Catherine say that, but if you didn't hear it, they're not sure whether they've got the systems and processes in place. As with any huge change like this, a bit like we've experienced before with European VAT, with other stuff, the law comes in, as happened with Brazilian rosewood many years ago. The law comes in and the infrastructure simply isn't there to deal with it, so they may well delay it. But for now, de minimis is in place. And who knows, if Keir Starmer pulls his thumb out of his bum, he might able to do a deal with the US to keep it in place. Who knows? Who knows? But yes, it is in place currently. Anyway, let's not talk about any more about that because it is depressing. Okay, I'll turn the super chats off just to make sure I can get through them all, because we may not run the full time tonight, but let's see. Let's see. So last in will be Alan Sandu. Okay. Let me just check the super chats are turned off. They are indeed. So first in with super chat this week will be Jack Greenwood. Hey Jack, nice to hear from you. He says, hi guys, hope you're both doing well. We are, thank you. Is it possible to create a wet-dry setup but using a single amp with two inputs, i.e. my 65 Fender Basement? Okay, we have been asked this and it's a very sensible question, Jack. So for those of you who don't know, stuff like Basemans, Supers, Twins, 4-input Marshalls, AC30s, old school single channel amps, I put it in annoying finger wobbles because they're actually dual or triple or sometimes more channel, but usually in the case of most Fenders, dual channel, except not dual channel in the modern sense because you can't necessarily switch between them. They're not designed as channel switching amplifiers. You plug into one channel or you plug into the other. However, you can plug into both channels. And so Jack's question is, can you, instead of running two separate amps for wet dry, can you run wet dry into one amp? You can. And it kind of gets half the job done. So For example, on a deluxe reverb, if you put your dry into the normal channel and your wet into the vib trem channel, you can balance the relative levels of dry and wet, and it might be that you might want to EQ one of those sources slightly differently, and that's great. You can do that. The thing you have to be a bit careful of on a deluxe reverb, I think the channels might be out of polarity with one another. They certainly are in some Voxes. Let me just get this right. Yeah, in Marshalls they're not generally. In Fenders they generally are, or can be. Am I getting that right? Check the polarity. Check the polarity that one channel isn't out of polarity the other, because if it is, you've got to flip it on one side. So that's half the job. Brilliant. The half the job you don't get is that it's all coming out through the same speaker or speakers. So if you have two separate amps, it's coming out through two different speakers, and that creates quite a different physical and aural effect in the room, and your perception of the sound and everything is quite different. So yes, you absolutely can do it. The optimum way to do it is with two separate amplifiers. Hope that answers the question. Plexico, Duncan, almost first in, mate. Duncan likes to be first and last in. Just having a quick check that we're all good. Backer says de minimis sounds like an underdrive. Please, somebody make a pedal called de minimis and make it $799. Go on. Go on. Oh yeah, BV makes a really good point. So de minimis will stop definitely for some territories, maybe not the UK. So it's been said explicitly that it will stop for some territories, maybe not the UK. So yeah, there we go. Hedo says, this means stock up on all of your gifting stuff now. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Plexico. Hi, Mick. The bonus content has been great. Thank you. I'm eager to see the Marshall 2 Rock Wet Dry episode if there is. There is. It's tomorrow. So for those of you who've been following the pedalboard wild goose chase, tomorrow's episode is the idiocy of 100 watt 2 Rock and 100 watt Marshall going there to come back. And an interesting development with the TS1 that you can see down there. So that'll be tomorrow's episode, and the final one will be next week. Hopefully. Thank you, Duncan. That's kind of you to say. Andrew R. Hello, gents. Spencer at 3 Leaf Audio released 333 of his Octobrv. I don't know how you say that. Octobrv pedals yesterday, and they sold out in under 60 seconds. In honour of the achievement, any thoughts on 3 Leaf? We need Dan really for that. I don't have any knowledge of 3 Leaf, and I think he was a big fan of, I want to say, a filter, maybe, like an envelope filter. That's as much as I know about 3 Leaf, so I'm sorry I can't have anything else to add to that. But congrats to 3 Leaf for selling pedals in 60 seconds. It's nice to hear of people doing well. And if anyone's got one, let us know what you think. Joe Caliguri. Hi, Joe. Have you ever watched Spinal Tap with the commentary on? Of course we have. Well, I did this weekend. I've never laughed harder. As dog owners, you must be like best in show. I know it's... Oh, look, there's the logo. Nah, it's too small, etc. If you've never seen Spinal Tap with the commentary on, watch it with the commentary on. It's an option in the DVD menu, I think, should you still have a DVD or a DVD player. Tim Houston is asking a question. Oh yes, any word what Dan is doing in the US? He is doing two things. He's predominantly there on gig rig business, so I hope he won't mind me saying. Obviously, news of the tariffs and all of that was rumbling a long time ago. So I think what a lot of British companies are doing are just trying to find ways to shore up their business in the US a bit. Again, I hope Dan won't mind me saying that were the worst to happen and the UK got hit with a 20% or 25% like the EU, or is it 20 or 25%? You know, could conceivably be the end of the gig rig, because his biggest market is the US. Prices go up considerably. people can't afford to buy them, or they choose not to buy them. And I guess, you know, let's take all the emotion out of it and say that's exactly what that administration wants. I'm trying not to talk about Donald Trump because I don't want to be pejorative. I don't want to be in support. I just want to talk about the facts and try and be a bit level-headed about it and the actual effects it has on businesses. And that's, I guess, that's what they want, because American consumers choose to buy American products at the expense of imported stuff to narrow that trade gap. But also, a point of fact is, it's not a tax on China or the UK, it's a tax on American consumers, because you're paying the extra. I mean, some of it might get swallowed up by manufacturers, but I promise you not very much. So that's as much as I'll say about that. So yeah, Dan's there doing some stuff that hopefully will help the gig rig in the USA a bit. And while he's there, he's going to Guitar Sanctuary to hang out with Andy Timmons and all the lovely people down there in McKinney, Texas. So I think he's doing a live stream, or he's already done it. So I hope what I've said doesn't inflame you, and please don't get too political about it, because it's for those of us on the ground running businesses in a very basic way. It's not about politics. It's just about how do we navigate what happens, the same as everything that happens in business. How do we navigate what happens and make sure we stay in business and make sure we have good business? You know, that's the job, really. So we can't really afford to get involved in all the mudslinging and all that crap. It's just, what do we do? What do we do? Very simple. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. The debate is kicking off, as you would imagine. Yeah, anyway, you can have that debate among yourselves. Also, that kind of structural change takes generations. It takes generations, so it needs to be managed over generations. But okay, move on. Good evening, Legend, says Square Wave Symphonies. Alex, how are you, buddy? Good to hear from you. He says, considering that you recently joined the Low End Club, indeed I did, I was wondering if you think the Tube Driver or Venus would do a decent job on bass. I love the sounds you got on Friday's show. Much love from Alex. Big love back to you, mate. I haven't tried it, Alex. I'm talking to all my bass friends. I recently started playing bass in a pub band, and I haven't done any gigs yet, but we have rehearsed quite a bit. And I'm learning real fast about the reality of bass at volume, and it's fascinating and really, really good fun. And the distortion thing's really interesting. I might try it, Alex. I've got to be careful not to be trying loads of stuff out on my bandmates. I need to try and remember to play the songs, right? But yeah, I don't know. I think it might, my guess is that it might be a bit too mushy in the low end, because as you will know, a lot of bass overdrives have a clean blend function, I think, or at least some bass overdrives have a clean blend function, which means, or they kick in at a higher bit of the frequency spectrum, so that the bottom end doesn't just completely mush out, so the bottom end stays full. And I guess you could do that with parallel signal chains and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, would certainly be worth trying. And what am I using at the moment? I was using the Hudson Broadcast. Now I'm using, oh no, I think I probably still am. No, I'm not, because it's there. Anyway, whatever. Oh, I know what I'm using. I'm using one of the jam pedals with the duck on it and the extra switch. Sorry, I can't remember the name. Eureka, maybe? Is it that one? Or is it the one that... Oh, I have to get my pedal board now. And it was so far to walk as well. It is the Red Muck, and you get kind of more horrible, maximum horrible, and it's brilliant, completely brilliant. I actually prefer it to the broadcast at the moment, but there you are, bass. I'm loving it. I'm flipping loving it. One thing I don't know, which I'm asking my bass friends about, is, to me, where I stand, like this note, let's say 5th fret, E string A, can sound really, really quiet. And then a 4th up from that to D on the next string is booming loud. And I don't know if that is a perceptive thing about where I'm stood or whether my bass is full of dead spots. So if anyone's got any intel on that, I'd be interested to know. Or is it because the stage resonates? Where we practice, there's a wooden stage. I wonder if it's because that resonates at whatever that frequency is. Anyway, fascinating, fascinating. Sorry to talk about bass. I know most people just don't want it. Bass vlogs, please, says private account. Yeah, I might actually, if I can get Paddy to come and join me to be the grown-up, the sensible one, then maybe we'll do it. There we are. Joe Caliguri, just talked to you. Square Wave Symphonies. G, Greg, great to hear from you, buddy. G Barge. Mick, loving the Argo Deluxe. Thank you for buying one. Incredible packaging and thoughtful notes. Also, wouldn't it be cool to have a delay with a tap tempo accentuated by a mic'd up snare drum? Maybe the next April Fools. Love from RNG. I think you can actually do that. So whether it's available in a delay pedal specifically, so the Free the Tone flight time, I've lost my flight time. If anyone else has got it, please let me know. That does have a real-time BPM analyzer, but I think it works within a certain range. I don't think it can listen and set the whole BPM. I think it works within a range of where you are. So if you're at 300, there's a percentage either side of that. So that definitely exists. And I'm absolutely certain that there must be a way of doing it. Whether it exists in a single delay pedal, I don't know. If it does, please let us know in the comments. We used to do this, G, all the time. Guitarist, we'd write April Fools, like things that didn't exist, and then 2 years later they would exist. Although the saxotone never fully came to fruition, I don't think. Or the acoustitone plectrum. I have to mention, I don't have one to hand. I've got to give a shout out to Randy Zeitman from San Diego. Randy Zeitman from San Diego, who has written us an impassioned email saying that he's had an absolute revelation about not using guitar picks and instead using, guess what? A toothbrush. So there we are, strumming our acoustic guitars with hard plectrums, trying to get that lovely strummy sound. Randy says, use a toothbrush. I want everyone to get a toothbrush and their acoustic guitar and try it now and say thanks to Randy Zeitman from San Diego, because he's serious. He even sent us an MP3 with examples of soft, medium and hard MP3s. Actually, what I didn't do, Bebbers, if you're watching this, can you just check the date on the email? Did it come in on April the 1st? And Randy, if you're watching this and you are serious, I don't mean to poo-poo the idea. People, give it a go. You know. Dormant says, preferably not your actual toothbrush because it might not taste great afterwards. Yeah. Good. Good. Chris Turner says, my toothbrush is electric. Finally, I can shred. Awesome. Apparently, lots of people are coming in on a bit of politics. Please, just don't. You know, if you can just not do that. It's about businesses. It's about people. It's not about politics. because the thing is so skewed with motivated cognition. I've talked to a few people about it, and lo and behold, guess who agrees, guess who disagrees, and it's just not as simple as that. Anyway, blah blah blah. Let's get back to guitar pedals. Scent of a wheelchair pillow. Hello. He says, I'm getting up at 2 a.m. to come and see Dan and Andy. Booked my hotel and rental car. Will there be a meet and greet? Would love to have a chance to say thank you in person for all you have given. This is for Dan at Guitar Sanctuary on Friday. Yeah, of course he'll be there for a meet and greet. Absolutely he will. And he would love to say hello. So thank you for going to see him, and I hope you enjoy it. And not to suggest Dan's playing is in any way shabby, but just if you've never seen Andy before, hold on to your hat, man. He is words. I don't have words, and I'm a gobshite, so I don't have words for what happens when Andy Timmons plays the guitar. So please enjoy. Mike Turner. Hey Mike. Mick, how much louder is a deluxe reverb compared to the Princeton? I tried both at the weekend. Love the deluxe reverb, but worried it may be too loud. It is louder, Mike, for sure, but I don't know that it's that much louder. And sometimes the Princeton can seem louder. Our Princeton, anyway. We have the standard. It's over there. The standard 65 deluxe reverb reissue, just standard speaker, not hand wired, anything like that, and the same Princeton 65 Princeton reverb amp. The Princeton puts out a great deal of bass for reasons we've never really understood. Someone will be able to explain. So that can make it sound quite loud. The other thing the Princeton does, it goes into overdrive way earlier. Actual top SPL, probably not a million miles apart. So in terms of actual loudness, maybe not so much. What will happen is, in the deluxe, because it breaks up later, you'll be able to hit it with pedals, and that will lift it higher than the Princeton. And the other thing that happens with the Princeton, with the standard speaker, is it flubs out quick in the bottom end. So the deluxe will kind of continue to bloom and open where the Princeton starts to cave in. But it ain't that much louder or quieter. I would go with the one you like the tonal flavour of. Dan's really loving the Princeton in his wet dry rig, and he's using that. He's using a more efficient speaker with it currently, and he's experimenting to try and find the speaker that he likes the best. It is a Celestian Gold. I think we can come to that conclusion. But he prefers it to the deluxe for the way it works in his wet dry rig. So, and that's next to his matchless. So I hope that makes the point that the Princeton is in no way a quiet amplifier. I actually think it sounds better at low volume than the deluxe reverb. There's more give in it. It kind of seems to be more open. But for my use at the volume I play, I would choose the deluxe, because when it's at 4.5 and you stick a pedal into it, it's got that extra room to breathe, which the Princeton doesn't have. So I hope that's enough information to help. I hope it is. Just bear with me 1 second. I need to check something in the technical department. I just turned up the volume a bit. I don't know if we were metering a bit under, but anyway. Duncan, again, Plexico. Hi again, Mick. I'm working on an AI project, and it insisted I ask if you could only use one pedal for life, but it had to be shaped like a vegetable, which would you pick and why? See, now that is why we love AI. Okay. Well, I don't know of any pedals that are shaped like vegetables. I suppose a fuzz face could be a particularly round and flat gourd, or a cabbage. Yeah, that's quite hard. What's my favourite vegetable? Broccoli. And like the really middle class broccoli, like the purple sprouting stuff with the long stems that you can get in Waitrose. That's my favourite vegetable. Might also be asparagus, which is also a very middle class vegetable. Potatoes are vegetables, right? That's my favourite vegetable. But I think of vegetables more as like legumes, or indeed carrots. Celeriac puree. Now there is a middle class vegetable. Peas. Peas are fantastic. Anyway, it has to be shaped like a vegetable, so I'm going to go with the the large carrot delay pedal. And you can have a Spinal Tap moment through aircraft security. Security gates. Duncan, thanks, I think. Sheridan's TV. Dormant says, I'm disgusted by your vegetable politics. I know. Somebody suggested rice as a vegetable. What? Didn't Dan Electro do a range of pedals shaped like fruit and veg, says Peter Hall. Oh man, I so hope they did. Yeah. What was Baldrick's favourite vegetable, says Chris Gunn. Was it turnip? I have a cunning plan. Celeriac might be the most British answer ever, says Andrew R. Yeah. Marcus Waring on MasterChef calls it celeriac. So if we could have a long and protracted debate about whether it is celeriac or celeriac. And then, of course, in America, all your vegetables are called different things, aren't they? Isn't broccoli called calabrese or something? And, oh, maybe. This is why you come here. Turnip. Thanks, DMK75. Of course it's a turnip. Stefan says, where's Dan? Dan is in the United States, Stefan. He is currently in the middle somewhere. And then on Friday he'll be in the bottom in the middle. Scott Curry says, no, it is called broccoli. Okay, right. What the hell is celeriac, says Brian Carpenter. You've obviously never watched MasterChef because it's a really zhuzhy thing to cook with. Shaped like a turnip. Baldrick's thingy was shaped like a turnip. That's right, Johnny T. Thank you, Johnny T. Yeah. Good. Oh, sorry. I'm just laughing at the chat. Thank you, everyone, for the chat. Sheridan's TV. Sheridan's TV says, howdy both. Any pickup suggestions for a gym route telly? I'm no metalhead, but I have an attachment to the guitar. I discovered TPS when we signed with a label in 2020, and the learning has been invaluable. In the studio, thank you, from Adam. Thanks for joining us, Adam, and it's nice to hear of people actually getting record deals. That's really cool, man. Okay, there's a humbucker space in there at the moment, isn't there? In the gym route telly, am I right? Have I got that right? Yeah, so you can put any humbucker in there you want, and I think there's probably some suggestions coming through in the chat, but if you don't like what's already in there, try and define what it is about it you don't like, and then you can go in the opposite direction. If you're in the UK, I'd thoroughly recommend bare knuckle pickups. We'd recommend Monty's pickups. We would recommend, is it the Creamery? There's two pickup companies that have cream in the name, and one of them is English. And I guess, yeah, decide what you want it to do, and the descriptions and demos and things on the various sites will tell you. What would I put in a gym route telly? Yeah, I'd have to know what it is about it you don't like and why you'd want to change it. What I would do is make it sound more vintage. So I'd just go with a PAF alike, the most vintage PAF alike I could get, like Monty's do a really good one. PAF patent applied for the type of pickup that went into Gibsons between 57 when they debuted and whenever they stopped being PAFs. So that's what I would do, because I just like that open, airy sound. And actually, a nicely made PAF can sound not a million miles from a Telebridge pickup, actually. Telebridge pickup might even be pokier and with more mids, traditional Telebridge pickup. So I'd go for a PAF type. Definitely is what I would go for. But if you're of more hard rock bent, then think about something a bit gruntier. Good luck and congrats on the deal. Hope it goes well for you guys. Sean Jeremilatos. Hey Sean, he says, hi Mick and Dan in absentia. How's the songwriting going for your album project? I expect the entire TPS community will be excited to hear it. That's kind of you to say, Sean, and it's going pretty good. It's going pretty good. I have, as you may or may not be surprised to hear, I have a big idea that has a shape, and it now just requires refining into a bit more detail, but it's going really well, thank you. And to be fair, that process has been going on probably for 5 years. So I don't really get in and record demos so much, but I do have extensive notes and I've got a lot of tunes in my head. I sing them when I'm out with the dog. And so in that sense, it's going well. Dan, I think, is really almost there. He's almost there. We've got to re-record some drums, which we're going to do in here, I think, as soon as he gets back, pretty much. And then there's just a couple mixes to do and Dan will be done. So finally, and it's been a long time coming, so we're really looking forward to hearing it. Thank you for asking. Daniel Mincher, no cue from you, Dan, so I'll just check my phone to see if BV has sent it to me. Let's have a look. BV has confirmed that Creamery pickups are in the northwest of England. Okay, nothing from Daniel yet. So Daniel, sorry if we've missed, and we'll keep an eye out to see if something else comes in. But thank you for super chatting. Joe Cooper. Hey Joe, nice to hear from you. He says, thanks for passing along Pete Thorne's sage advice a while back. Don't be arrogant in regards to performance anxiety. Yeah, that's the distillation of it. And for all the good stuff over the years, no question today. I hope it helped you out, Joe. Or at least, the general thought hopefully helped you. Paul Matulovic. Hey, Paul. He says, evening, leg. What might be your favourite defunct brand? Be it amp, pedal, etc. That's a great question. So brands that are no longer with us. What's your favourite? My current favourite, and I'm just going to check that it is actually defunct. I've got two actually. The first one is Parker Guitars. Bit late, I know. And my second one, I don't know if Simon is still doing it, so let's see if he is. No, he is still going. I was going to say Gus Guitars, but Gus Guitars is alive and well and still making awesome things. So if you've never checked out Gus Guitars, please do. Just awesome. Just awesome. So everyone else, please, in the comments, stick your favourite defunct brands. Again, for the record, Gus is not defunct. But Parker is, from what I can tell. So, what else? We are going to do the amp that we played with James Dean Bradfield. Anyway, someone's going to lend us one. Berman. We're going to play the Berman amp. We're going to do a show on insane 1x12 combos because we've got a Mark III Boogie, which I think is the pinnacle of that whole thing. and just chat a little bit about how that came to be and how it sort of ended. And we have a Berman. So, yeah. Andreas Johansson. Andreas, nice to hear from you, buddy. He says, hey Mick, I'm looking for a preamp pedal for a nice clean sound that works into the effects return of my amp. Any recommendations? Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of a wait list probably, but I don't think it gets any better than this. I don't think it gets any better than this. Kingsley Maiden. Now, Simon is always evolving his product, so it might be that the latest one looks different and has extra features. This is a Maiden D, D4, you know what. And there's also, I think, ones that are voiced for various famous classic amplifiers. I genuinely don't think it gets any better than that, and that's what I would buy. There are others, and I'm sure they're good, but you asked, that's my answer. Kingsley Maiden. Now, it might be that if you want to go down the rack route, you might be able to have a look at some 90s rack gear that's still available. Boogie Studio preamp, that kind of thing. And I dare say there's others, but pedal board size, 500 milliamps, so it runs on 9-volt 500, which is great. Put it on your pedal board, etc., etc. Get that. There might be a bit of a wait, but a pulse. Well, I tell you what, when there's not loads of tangents and I'm banging through them, I should have left them on for a bit longer, because last in is Alan Sandu. Alan Sandu, hello Alan from Romania. He says, please add Romania to the store. I'm sorry that Romania is not on the store, Alan, and there will be a reason why. I'm sorry to say I don't know what it is. There are some places that we have tried to ship to that have, and I'm not saying Romania is in this category, by the way, but there are some places that we tried to ship to where like 90% of the stuff gets lost or other issues like that. So if we don't ship somewhere, there will be a reason. I will ask Catherine what that reason is and see if it's possible. But that's the story, I'm sorry to say. Well, I think we can have some time in the general chat then, can't we? Which would be nice. Thank you for all your super chats so far. Yeah, BV says, why don't you switch them back on for a little bit? Yeah, okay. Why don't I do that then? Because there seems to be a lot of vegetable chat going on in the major chat. So I've opened up the super chat again. Let's see if some more come in. I feel like a radio DJ. Wouldn't it be great to have a radio show where you could play actual music? Who else is in? Scott Christ. Hey Scott Christ says, have you ever heard of Waldo's Gift? Just discovered them yesterday. Fantastic guitar work. I haven't. I'm just reading Waldo's Gift to make sure it's not like Huge Ass or Amanda Hug and Kiss or something like that. I think we're pretty safe with Waldo's Gift, are we? Cue meme for the next 10 years. Oh, some cucumber chat going on. Nate George says, what's up, Mick? Howdy from Arizona. Howdy to Arizona. G Barge says, Kingsley pedals are wonderful. I was hoping that one would be included in the last episode with Venus et al. Yeah, we did debate it, Greg. Simon's pedals have been on the show so much, we thought we'd keep it as narrowly focused to tube drivers as possible, and Simon doesn't really do one that is ostensibly a tube driver, so we thought for that we would keep it to tube drivers alike as much as pos. So yeah. What's your favourite soup? Says Pigeon. Had fun. It depends, doesn't it? I don't know about you guys, but soup's one of those things, right, that when you eat it, it's quite repeaty. So if you have something like mulligatawny, and I don't know if that exists in the US, it's like curry soup, and it's blooming great. Little bits of beef in it and all that. It's nice. Same with pea and ham. I'm a big fan of pea and ham and soup. My favourite soup of all, I guess, is American in origin, and it is clam chowder. Or even the one that's made with crab. I guess you would call that crab chowder. Anyway, I had that in Maryland once, and it was just epically good. But then it does get a bit repeaty, so a slightly more a less heavy flavour. I mean, a good consommé, not that you'd eat it as soup. And gazpacho. Is gazpacho soup? Now there's a question. You know, if you consume it cold, as one should, on a lovely day with a glass of rosé. Oh my God, I want to go home and have gazpacho and a glass of rosé right now. Our friend Sarah makes the best gazpacho. Her husband Julio, he's Spanish. Yeah, it's gazpacho. That's my favourite soup. Anyone else? Aren't they all tube drivers, says Buzz Crumhunger. Kingsley, I mean. Yes, actually that theme came through quite strongly in the comments. People took tube driver as a generic term, i.e. a driver that has a tube in it, and I'm talking about the actual specific tube driver pedal that is called a tube driver, that is a specific thing and is designed thus. So yes, but no but. Let's see if we've had any more super chais come in. Oh yeah, we've had a few. It's great, isn't it? This is great. Okay, I'll turn them off again so that we make sure we do get through them. And we can continue to get into the chat. What I need is a producer. That would work, wouldn't it? What me and Dan need is a producer. So Hedo, no chat from you, buddy. So hopefully we haven't missed anything. If we have missed something, please put it in the main. Yeah. Sorry. Some excellent soup. Some excellent soup suggestions coming through. Paul Matulovic. Hey Paul, thank you for your additional question. He says, any experience with Buddha the brand? I want one of their old amps which inspired the last question. Love my boudoir. Yeah, so I first came across Buddha just before they got acquired by PV, and they made an amp called maybe the Super Drive, if I'm remembering correctly. One of the things I loved about the Buddha amp was the knobs were triangular. Somewhere up here is an old boudoir. There we go. It's still got the tag on it. The switch made it volume on wire. They came in different types, and then shortly after this they had a unique aesthetic. They came in a completely different shape. I don't know if that was after PV acquired them or what, but yeah, I would certainly remember liking the amp a lot. Broadly AC derived, I think, if I'm right in saying. Yeah, I don't know what happened to Buddha. Maybe they still exist, and apologies if they do. Actually, not apologies. Really great if they do. But they were acquired by PV, from what I can remember. So yeah. Sub Rosa. What's the latest on the ES345 mod journey, and also seeking out an ES330? I am really happy, Sub Rosa, with this guitar. For anyone who doesn't know, I bought this for my 50th birthday. About a year ago, and I sold a load of stuff to raise the funds to buy it. I actually bought it off Thorpe, and it came from a lovely guy whose name is, oh god, I'm going to remember in a minute, sorry, who I have an email that I need to reply to. Anyway, when it came, it had all the Veritone conkers in it, and people really like the Veritone and argue passionately about it. I think it sounds like garbage, and just don't like it at all. It takes like a perfectly good guitar and is like a make worse switch, in my personal opinion. So I took it all out, and what you lose is 2 great bits of metal underneath here and a load of circuitry that just is like having a cloak on the guitar. And with it all out, it now just sounds like a really decent ES335. Why didn't I just buy an ES335? Because they're about 10 grand more expensive. So, or at least 5 grand more expensive, and probably 10 for a half decent one. So yeah, did that, and it's ace. These are gold, patent applied for. And for those of you who read things online, as I did, apparently the gold ones were the latest ones to go from early PAF spec to the later patent number spec. So they're for all intents and purposes PAFs, according to people who know, who've looked at them. And it's just a really killer sounding guitar, and I flipping love it. It's just got a real awesome vibe to it. It's obviously been played its whole life because it just has that whole vibe about it. The checking and everything, really lovely. Rob Francis. Rob, I'm so sorry. Sometimes I get a bit of a brain fart. It came via Rob Francis. And so to answer your question, Sub Rosa, what will happen to it next is this will go, and I'm going to put a Bigsby on it. But I need to find a mid-60s gold Bigsby, and Rob has offered to lend me one. And there'll be people like, no, leave the trapeze on it. It's really cool like that. All the mid-60s, early to mid-60s, 345s, 355s I play with Bigsby's on. And it was, to drop the names, it was Noel Gallagher's and Johnny Marr's 355s, playing them, that were like, that's a guitar. That's a guitar. This is a bit later than that, not quite as desirable, but it's the same thing by and large. So yeah, that's the story on the 345. Acquiring a 330. There's one I've got my eye on, but I don't have any money. So I'd have to move some things around, and there's some other things I want. So I don't know. That will be a kind of play it, oh God, have to have it, brown trousers moment. As and when. It never ends, does it? It never ends. It never ends. It never ends. David Wiry wants to know, Mick, how do you use the Maiden, so the Kingsley Maiden? Ah, that's BV telling me something. How do I use the Kingsley Maiden in G3, Gigwig G3 with stereo pedals after? Okay, David, what you would do is, obviously the Maiden is mono, right? Oh, sorry, not obviously. The Maiden is mono. So the good news about G3 and G3 Atom, I'll just go and get one. Talk amongst yourselves. The hills are alive with the sound of music. Oh, they call this dead air in radio. Right, here's a G3 yesterday, G3 Atom. Ooh. Nice. So the really good news about G3 Atom, which was the huge development over G2, or one of the huge developments over G2, is that it can internally manage mono, parallel and stereo, right? What it can't do is turn mono into stereo. It can't turn stereo into mono and then back into stereo again, because that's not possible. But what it can do, if you put your Maiden, let's get this right. If you put the Maiden at the start of your signal chain, because it's a preamp, so you would put your overdrive pedals before that, and you would potentially put this last in your signal chain, right? So let's say you've got a fuzz, an overdrive, and then the Maiden. So exactly as it would were you using an amplifier, 2 overdrive pedals. Sorry, that it is the Minions saying Mako, 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 but it does sound like Michael, 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 which is my actual name. Fuzz, overdrive pedal, Maiden, signal flow going that way. They would all go into loops, say 1, 2 and 3 of Atom, set to mono. The loop would be set to mono. Let's say you want to then go into harmonious monk down one side and rotary speaker down the other. No, bad example. Harmonious monk down one side and a flanger down the other. You'd then go flanger, harmonious monk, but this time you'd still put them in mono loops, but you would, in G3 software, you would put a parallel split here. You'd split the signal. So it comes out mono and then it gets split and it goes off into flanger, harmonious monk. Now we've gone to parallel, right? And you could, if you want, then instead of going through those 2 modulation pedals, you could just go into a stereo delay. But let's say we're going to keep the modulation pedals in place. Next, we're going to go into a stereo delay. So out of the monk down one side and the flanger down the other, into left and right of the delay. But now that loop that the delay in is set to stereo. What will then happen is you've got mono, 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 split, dual mono, so one's going to come out left, one's going to come out right, stereo delay, and eventually, down the end, outputs 1 and 2, they become left and right. So then you can choose to send them off to do different amps or to a power amp or whatever you want to set it. Now, where you might be going with that question is, shouldn't the preamp be at the end of everything? Maybe. Depends if you want to put an analog delay in front of that, that would be really cool. And you could have your analog delay before and then stereo delay after. But the great thing about this is it's essentially like having an effects loop on your pedal board, right? Because you go pedal, 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 preamp. Just imagine this is the front of your amp. Wet effects, essentially like having them after. And if you use modern digital effects, analog delay probably not great after this. Certain other analog modulation pedals probably not great after this because it's so high output. But modern digital delay pedals, Free the Tone, Strymon, Boss, they'll take this, no worries. And that's how it works. I hope that explains it. The point is, you can configure in Atom, you can configure any of the 6 loops to be mono or stereo. So if you have the stereo down the end, you know, loops 5 and 6, they will feed the outputs, with the added benefit that you can have your modulation pedals split left, right as well. I.e. harmonious monk one side, flanger the other, should you so desire. And if you don't want them split both ways like that, your modulation pedals, put the split after. So they'll hit everything. If you get a bit of paper and draw it out, it will make sense. I really hope that answers the question. Yes, I hope that answers the question. Sub Rosa, we answered you. Hedo, sorry we missed you earlier. He says, can you use a humdinger on top of an amp to reverse phase after a split already occurred at the board? Yes, absolutely you can. And it's a really good way to do it. So I'll just check my notes from BV. So many screens. Apologies. What's the word? Fubbing? Phone snubbing? I'm not doing that, I promise. It's among the most annoying of modern attributes. Yeah, so let's say you've got a wet dry or a stereo signal coming off your board, and something on the board is reverse polarity, so you've had to fix it. But then when you get back to the amps, maybe you're using any combination of 3 amps. So you're using a Fender and a Marshall one night, and the next night you're using the Marshall and the Vox, and they've all got different polarities. So can you have the humdinger back at the amp to flip those polarities again? Absolutely you can. Yes. What I would suggest you do is, if you just want to use it on one amp, come out of the already isolated side of your board and just use the isolated in and out on the isolated out on the humdinger, making sure you've got a continuous ground route to earth off your regular grounded output. I hope that makes sense again. I.e., don't have them both ground lifted. Curtis R says, excuse me, I'm huge ass. Mick, best reverb pedal. Yeah. Best reverb pedal into the front end of a Tweed amp, E59 Bassman. Okay, Curtis. Curtis wants to know. Huge ass wants to know. It's a Simpsons gag if you're not following. It's where Bart phones up the Moe's Tavern and says, "Can I speak to Hugh? Huge ass." And Mo shouts out, "I need Amanda. I need Amanda. Amanda, hug and kiss." Anyway, so Tweed Bassman, quite bright, crunchy, lovely thing. Lovely thing. Now, the problem with running a reverb into the front of a bright and crunchy, lovely thing, Exhibit A, is when the amp is quick into overdrive and it's bright and crunchy and lovely, the reverb can sound really kind of and splashy and aggressive and generally unpleasant. That's the reason, one of the reasons effects loops were invented, because if you put reverb before distortion and overdrive, it can sound splashy and aggressive and kind of bloomy in a shoegazy kind of way. Or it can just sound not very nice, to be frank. So if you've got that Bassman cranked or that Marshall cranked, I would say there's probably no reverb pedal that you can put in front of it without it sounding not clean. You know, the reverb will be unpleasant sounding. And I appreciate these are all subjective terms. So in the first instance, your amp does have to be not fully overdriving. It can be breaking up a little bit, but not too much. After that, I would go for a reverb that has not too much in the way of high-end extension. So if you've got reverb with a tone control on it, turn the tone control down. And that works in the same way as a delay. So if you compare, say, something like the Bell Epoch Deluxe, which I'm using specifically with that amp for this very reason. So if I put my Free the Tone delay into the Marshall, when it's crunchy, it's just too bright and it's kind of like clang, 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 crash, crash, crash everywhere, and it's not really what I want. If I use it after overdrive on pedal board into a clean amp, glorious, really wonderful. But what the Bell Epoch does, because, what do you say in America? Epoch, maybe? I don't know, like Bell Epoch. It just rounds off that high end so beautifully in the same way that an analog delay would, that you don't get all that splashy, crashy stuff. And that's what you need in your reverb pedal. So what's a good choice? Anything you can turn the tone down. One thing I mean, it's horrifically expensive, but one thing I love about the CXM is the Chase Bliss CXM 78 is you can reduce the amount of high-end reverberation. It's got the sliders on it, right? I dare say you can do that in some of the smaller ones. I'm just looking for the smaller one. Yeah, look, there's the Evermore. which is like the mini version of it. And there it is, bass, middle and treble. So you can turn the treble down a bit. I dare say the Boss RV500 and RV200 must have a tone control. So yeah, anything that you can turn the tone down on. I really love, I'm going to go and get it. Nobody panic, I'm back. This. The Meteor, or should I say Meteore, or it might be Meteor, yeah, because there's no accent on the last E, from Caroline, and I would use it. The only reason I'm not using it is because I don't believe you can get rid of the pre-delay. Pre-delay is when you go, pre-delay sounds like a slapback basically, or can do. So it's the time it takes from your note to the reverb being triggered. If you want a really old school, lo-fi sounding awesome, roomy reverb that is almost slapback delay, get that. And it can do lots more stuff as well, but it's really cool. Again, I hope that answers the question. You need to tame the high end into the front end of it. I mean, a good tube spring reverb would be the thing, wouldn't it? Surfy Bear. Has a tone knob, can put other pedals on top. Or even the Echo Fix, if that's kicking around somewhere. Does that have a tone knob? Yeah. Bass and treble on the repeats. I mean, getting very zhuzhy with all this stuff, but you know. That is pretty killer, that, actually. So there you go. Hopefully that's some useful suggestions. I'm going through the same journey with the Marshall because I want to be able to swap the Marshall out for various amps in my own rig, so I have to have a reverb that will work into a crunchy amp. Here's the missus. Oh, awesome. There's a Jalfrezi in the fridge. Use date was yesterday. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Kiss. Perfect. Josh Tanberg. Josh Tanberg says, if you could buy anything VAT from Thomann, what would it be? And why does it have to be Murphy Lab? For those of you in the USA, our sales tax is called VAT, Value Added Tax. So in various bits of Europe and in the UK, there's this, I guess in various states in the US, you have sales tax, right? So get to the counter and they add on 9% for something. Here we call that VAT, and it's a bizarre tax because if, as a business, if you buy something, you pay the VAT, but then you offset it against stuff that you've sold. So if you collect VAT from customers who've bought things, you can then offset it against the VAT you've paid. As a customer, once again, you just get the shitty end of the stick. You have to just pay it. Now, before the European Union changed all the VAT laws, which isn't to do with Brexit, but predominantly isn't to do with Brexit. It's to do with intra-EU trade. You could buy stuff from Thomann, and I would guess pay the British VAT, which I still think is the way it works. Anyway, he's saying if you could get 20% discount at Thomann, which is what we're talking about, what would you buy? I would buy a Neve. Is it called the BCB10? Is that what it's called? A desk, basically. BCM10. That's what I would buy. BCM2. BCM10 to Mark II 10 channel mixing console, and they are a cool £40,000. So an affordable Neve. That's what I would buy. I don't know if Thomann sell them. They probably do. They sell everything else. If you've never been to Thomann in Germany, go there. It's nuts. It's utterly nuts. Warehouses full of stage truss, lighting, everything you can think of, they've got it. Or a 5088, that would be nice. Oh, Funky Junk have got one in for 50 grand. Nope, 39,950 ex VAT. Oh yeah, 50 grand once you've paid the VAT, to your point. Is 10 channels enough? Maybe not. Groovy. Okay, that concludes our super chats tonight. Thanks everyone for super chatting. It helps, makes a difference, and enables me to talk incessantly about stuff. Yeah, Casey Cole 4001 says, K Cole 4001 says, the real question is how much value have the government actually added? I know. Just, if you're, wherever you are, take your pound and work out how much of it ends back with the government. Anyway, there we are. MBB says, am I wrong or is Dan not there? You are right. Dan is in the US of A. He's currently in the middle somewhere, and he will be in the bottom in the middle next week. This later in this week. Yes, the Argo is buyable from Thomann, I believe. Excellent, Backer. Thank you. Hot Black Desiato says, Mick, what do you think about, or any thoughts on the Fat 50s pickups? Fender Fat 50s pickups for Strats. I think they're really good. Landau had them in one of his Strats, if I'm not mistaken. I like the Fat 60s and the Fat 50s. I think they always sound good no matter what I play them in. I played so many custom shop Strats when I was doing stuff for Andertons. And it was something that I noted is when the guitar came off the wall with Fat 50s or Fat 60s in it, I always liked it. So I know it's just a personal preference, but Dormant says Dan is in the kitchen making mixed jalfrezi. What have the Romans ever done for us, says Moon. Yeah, I know. Chris Gunn says, what do you think of GAC and Bach's music going down? I didn't know Bach's had gone. And I don't know if GAC has actually gone or if it's for sale. I haven't kept up with the news of whether it's actually gone under or whether it's just for sale and they've decided to stop doing it. Bach's is kind of surprising. I mean, they were huge, weren't they? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, yeah. What do you do in those situations? You feel some empathy for the people involved, for the staff, for the suppliers, for the people that have lost money, for people that have lost livelihoods, careers, all of that. That's regrettable, and any suffering caused by that is, we should have some empathy for that, for those people. In parallel with that, zoom out a bit. The world changes, and it always changes, and it always has changed, and it always will. And sometimes it changes radically, and sometimes it changes in very small ways. And so no one should be surprised by the fact that things change. And you roll the punches, don't you? It is what it is. You can get mithery and sad about the fact that your life's been ruined. And in some cases it genuinely has, and I'm not trying to detract from that. You still have to pick yourself up off the floor and go, what do we do now? And I think if your focus is always that, what do we do now? Then you get on with it in whatever way you possibly can. And I'm not saying that's easy, but I know lots of people who've had things happen in their lives which are repairable and come backable from, who choose not to, and it's very sad to see. So, yeah, shit happens. C'est la vie. The world changes. It just does. It just does. And on we go. So, yeah, with respect to anyone who's temporarily feeling bad about a big change in their life. So, yeah, there we are. Good. Woden of Angles. Woden of the Angels. Angles. It is Angles. Woden of the Angles. Has given me a great cue for a play out song tonight. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Andy White says apparently Gak has gone. Oh, that's sad. That is sad. I had a friend who worked there. That is sad. But there we are. There it is. There it is. Right. Johnny T says Debenhams, British home stores, even WH Smith are going down the pan. Yeah, well, you know. If nothing changes, then everything would be the same. We'd be cave people, wouldn't we? Walking around in animal skins and clubbing each over the head for a dead deer or two. I don't want to be reductive about how the cave people lived. I'm sure they were a bit smarter than that, but that cave show, that cave pedal show. Right, I'm going to bid you adieu. A little bit shorter tonight because I appreciate it's probably a bit hurty listening to me ramble on with no Dan. Tomorrow, episode 3 of the vlog. I was hoping to finish it in 3, but there was a massive tangent with the rotosphere. So enjoy that tomorrow. Also, and I say this in as minimally self-aggrandizing way as I possibly ever can. Listen to this guitar tomorrow. Have a listen to it. It's so cool. Quite the revelation. Quite the revelation. And with that, I bid you adieu. Bless you. We shall play the aforementioned 3:45. Thanks for being here, everyone. It's a big deal that you give up your time to come and hang out and chat and be among good humans. Got to remember what key it was in. Is that what it's in? Maybe it's in A. Someone tell me. Good. It's in D. Thanks, Scott. Oh, there we go. What a killer solo. See you next week, people. Too small.